Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be unboxing a whole bunch of HO scale locomotives I picked up off of eBay. I found this lot about 3 weeks ago, and I was absolutely amazed by the price it was going for. For 15 locomotives, they were selling this entire lot as a buy it now for 52 bucks. Just an unbelievable deal. So I really didn't waste too much time buying this lot. I pretty much bought it right away. I'm hoping there are in fact 15 engines in here because the pictures were not great. So it's possible some of the locomotives were actually just shells. That's something you have to be careful about when you're buying lots on eBay. But in any case, we'll open this up and see what exactly it is I got. I'm very excited. So let's begin. And there they all are. Let's take each one out one at a time and see what exactly they are specifically and what kind of condition they're in. So right off the bat, we've got a Union Pacific F unit. I believe this is an Athearn locomotive, probably from about the 1950s, maybe a little bit newer, possibly 60s era. And it actually looks to be in pretty good condition. It's certainly not the most realistic looking engine out there, but I can tell you from experience that these Athearn blue boxes are very tough locomotives. So I don't know if any of these run or not, but if I were to bet which one would run, it would probably be this one. Anyways, let's see what the next one is here. I'll lay them all out here so we can kind of see the lot as a whole eventually. All right, here we've got a Bachmann locomotive. This is one of their later drives, probably from about the 1980s. I can already tell it's got a split gear because this is locked in, but the other one's not, and that's a very common problem for the 80s Bachmann locomotives. It looks to be in kind of rough condition, but it might still run. You never know, but I can already tell that's going to need a little bit of work. Just going to remove that. I think it's a note or something. Right here we've got a Santa Fe locomotive. I believe this is a lifelike locomotive. These were included in countless train sets many years ago. And overall, it doesn't appear to be in too bad of a condition. Unfortunately, it is missing some of the handrails, but other than that, it doesn't look too bad. We've got a little 040 switcher locomotive from the Santa Fe. This is an old Taiko locomotive, but I don't think it's a power torque. I think it's the MU2 drive, so these are actually decent locomotives as far as build quality goes. I know by modern standards this is not a great engine, but these last an awful long time. Then we've got another switcher locomotive. This one appears to be from the Pennsylvania Railroad. It's an AHM locomotive. It looks to be in okay shape. These can be somewhat reliable locomotives, although they're not fantastic. They're actually only two-wheel drive, so they can't pull a whole lot, but they do make fun little engines just to run around. Good project engines, too, if you're looking for something to fix. It's not too difficult to work on. This right here is one of the main reasons I actually bought this lot. It's a Spirit of 76 locomotive by Taiko Mantua. It's not in great shape, but it's still a very cool looking American locomotive, and it does appear to have most of the parts. It's obviously going to need some work before it can be riding the rails once again, but this is certainly not a bad start. So we'll put that down there, and then I think we've got another layer with some more locomotives. It also appears that they included some parts. So these are all things that have broken off the engines, which is great because we might be able to glue some of these things back on and get some of these engines into a slightly better condition than they already are. Yeah, here's our next layer. And I guess to start off, we'll begin with this locomotive. It's yet another F unit. I think it's another Mantua Taiko. Unfortunately, it's missing one of the truck covers, but other than that and some paint chips, it doesn't seem to be in too poor of a shape. It does have both its horns, but one is cracked. Yeah, overall, not a terrible engine. And then we've got a nearly identical locomotive, except this one's by Athearn. It looks like that one's going to need a little bit of work. Look at that, the motor is completely loose in there. So this one's definitely seen some better days. Got, I think, a couple more F units. This is an older style Athearn locomotive. This is almost undoubtedly from the 50s. I think I worked on one of these maybe a year or two ago. It's missing a lot of parts, unfortunately. Yeah, I really don't know if we'll be able to get that one working again or not, but you never know until you try. Maybe it does run, it just doesn't look that great. And then we got an identical locomotive in pretty much identical condition. I mean, just look at this. Pretty much exactly the same. So two of those. I think this is another Bachmann F unit. I could be mistaken, but I believe they refer to these as FT locomotives. And this is, of course, got the pancake motor. Not a great drive, but it might run. Who knows? Simplicity is usually what saves some of these engines. We got something a little bit different. This is from the Pennsylvania Railroad. It's another Mantua Taiko. By the looks of it, the condition isn't too bad. This is one of the few I've seen which actually has handrails. Somebody must have installed these. I don't know if they're actual Taiko ones or not, but either way, they certainly improve the looks of this type of locomotive quite significantly. And then I think we got another Spirit of 76 locomotive. I think this might be a GP9, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure someone in the comments will know exactly what this is. But in any case, it looks to be in decent condition. It could definitely use some cleaning. It's sort of funny that it says the Seaboard Coastline. I wonder if they actually had one of these locomotives in real life. I'm not 100% sure, but overall it's a very cool looking locomotive. Anyways, we might have one more locomotive or a couple more in these Athearn boxes. I'm not 100% sure. Yes, we do. I don't know why they decided to pack this one and possibly another one so specially, but I got a great big Sentry 430 locomotive, and it's yet another Mantua Taiko, as most of this lot is. And it also has its handrails, which is nice. It's definitely missing parts. It's missing the covers for what would be the fuel tank, and it's missing a couple truck covers. We've also got cracked wheels. It might still run, but you know, we just can't really tell unless we put them on the track, obviously. And then I think whatever this is the final locomotive in the lot. Let's have a look-see here. Ah, yes. Some of these famous Bachmann U-boat locomotives, most likely with another pancake drive or a Kadar drive. And overall, this looks to be in, okay condition. All the parts are here, which is really what's important, but it is a bit rough around the edges. I don't know. It could use some work, as all the other ones do, but it's not a bad start. So for $50, I think I'm quite happy with that lot. So now that we've had a look at all these locomotives, the question just has to be asked, do any of these locomotives actually run? I think we should go bring them over to the track and test them out. I feel like at least a few in here must be capable of running, but there is only one way to find out. Well, here they all are, ready to be tested. I'm gonna put all the working ones on this side and all the non-working ones on this side. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a few runners out of this lot. We'll begin here with the Mantua Taiko Sentry 430 locomotive. I have a pretty good feeling that this one is going to run to some extent. I don't think it's going to run well, but as I've mentioned a million times before, these Mantua Taikos are very tough locomotives. So let's give it some power here, and I did see a small flicker from the light. And we have a working headlight, but the current draw is low, so this is obviously some sort of a issue with power getting to the motor, because this thing should be trying to go if it's getting power. We know it's getting power, but there's either a wire going to the motor which is not working, or a bad brush. There could be a whole variety of things with it, but that is definitely not a runner. So I guess we'll put that there. Next up, we've got the Athearn. This is one of their less reliable drives, so I really don't know if it's going to go or not, but let's give it a chance. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be anything from it. I'm going to give it full power here. And absolutely nothing. No current draw, no signs of it being able to run. So it's probably an electrical issue, but who knows. Next up, we've got this thing. It might actually be capable of starting. It's obviously not going to be able to run because it's missing its wheels, but we'll just see if it will do anything at all if we give it some power here. And just like the other ones, there's nothing happening. So unfortunately, it seems we have another dud. Here's the Bachmann Locomotive. I really don't know if this one's going to go. It is a straightforward drive, so there's less to go wrong. But I don't know. There could be any list of problems with it. It already doesn't seem like it's sitting on the track quite right, which is weird. There we go. And it appears we've got a runner. It's not running terribly good. It seems a little low on power. But that is a runner nonetheless. Surprisingly, too, I'm not hearing any clicking coming from it, so it sounds like the gears in this one are not split, which is very rare for locomotives of that era. So at least we've got one. Now, here's another Mantua Taiko. Let's give it a go here. I should mention, too, that all of these engines are definitely going to need servicing to some extent either way, but it's just interesting to see which ones go. And this one also would appear to be a runner. Pretty good one at that, by the looks of it. Starting consistently. Current draw is a little higher than I'd like it, but you know, some of these engines could have been sitting 10, 15, 20 years, maybe longer. So it's expected they're not going to run great if that's the case. This is another pancake drive. I feel like it's got a decent chance of going. Again, the simplicity is just what saves them. Well, something's definitely off with the drive because the motor is going a lot faster than the engine. It's like the wheels are slipping or something. I think it might be missing a gear, and we've got one axle turning but not the other. So I guess we'll count it as a runner, but it's definitely got some issues. This is an AHM. Relatively reliable locomotives in my experience. The only things that fail on these a lot are the motors. And I'm giving it 12 volts so far. I'm not seeing anything. It did stutter for just a second there, so let's give it more power. Let's see if we can get it to spring to life here. It might just be a matter of getting it moving. Try changing the direction. It usually doesn't make much of a difference, but it's always worth a shot. Yeah, it's thinking about it. It might be hard to tell, but it is, for just a split second, it is going a little bit. Oh, it's getting close. Sometimes with these things, as I said, it's just a matter of getting them moving. You can see each time it's going a little further. It's not great on the drive to do that kind of stuff, but yeah, she's pulling through. Will it make an entire lap? Oh, got a working headlight too, that's nice. Yeah, this one just needs a bit of cleaning and an oil change. You see, what happens is when these engines sit for such a long time, the contacts get oxidized, and sometimes just getting them going is enough to scrape off that oxidization and get them rolling again. You know, optimally you want to just scrape it off yourself, but sometimes it's just enough. Here's the other Athearn locomotive. I know it looks identical to the other one, but we'll see. Hopefully this one does work. I saw something. Oh yeah, this one wants to go. Something seems real off with the drive, though. It's not shorting, but the electrical contacts are definitely not in great shape. I suspect it's the commutator. It's not impossible that if we kept trying to run this just like the other one, it might just pull through, but I don't know. I'm happy with that. Call it a runner. I'm sure if we just kept trying to run it, it would go, but the current draw was a little high, so I don't want to risk burning out the motor. Another Mantua Taiko locomotive, probably one of the American-made ones. Giving it power, and so far there is no current draw, but we do have a light. Let's give it a bit more power. Yeah, that one doesn't seem to really want to go. It's not hopeless, it is showing some signs, but just look at those wheels. It's practically impossible for power to flow through that. Now this is, I mean, just its own case, but you know, sometimes these things can be surprising. Don't let the looks deceive you. So we got the wheels on the right sides, we got metal wheels on opposite sides for the trucks. It just tried to go. Now let's give it more power here. That's great. As I said, don't let the looks deceive you. Even though this thing's in horrible condition, I don't even know how power's flowing through those wheels, it still runs. It's obviously gonna need some work, but that's a terrific start, and I'm happy to see that because this is just such a cool locomotive. So earlier in the video I mentioned the Atherns are really reliable. I've got a good feeling about this one. Let's see if my guesses were correct or not. Oh, looks like I'm about to eat my words. We have high current draw. Well, it's never a guarantee that these things go. They just tend to be reliable, but something's very wrong with this one. It's got a pretty severe short circuit, so it looks like I was incorrect about that. Now, anyways, we got this locomotive. Another Bachmann, as I showed earlier. It's a little bit messed up, but it doesn't mean it won't run. It just means that if it does run, it's not going to run well, and that's for sure. But let's try it out. Yeah, so it's exactly what I was talking about. The engine does run, but it hardly has any traction because it's only got one set of working drive wheels, and the drive wheels it does have don't have traction tires, so not a great combination. But the motor and everything else is at least in working order on that, so that's good to see. This is a lifelike with basically a Kato drive. It's very similar to the Bachmann, but it's a little bit more reliable in my experience. These can be okay engines. The only thing is that if they've been sitting for a long time, the wheels oxidize, and that usually prevents them from going. So I bet that's going to be the case with this. Yep, seems to be exactly the case. Because if we have a look over at the controller, it's not picking up its power when you wiggle it around. See how the needle starts jumping there? So if we just keep wiggling this one around, I bet it's gonna come back. There we go, we got it. Yeah, it's starting to power through it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's running like you saw when we first put that thing on the track. Absolutely nothing, and now it's already running again. It's just what you got to do with these lifelikes, and if I were to open this up and polish up these wheels all nice, get the sides clean too, I'm sure it'll run mint. So that's already a terrific start. And finally, we got the two switcher locomotives. I guess we'll test out the Santa Fe one first. I think this one's got a pretty good chance of running. Doesn't even hesitate, just fires right up. We got reverse. No doubt about it. That's awesome. So that's undoubtedly a runner. And then finally we got this thing. I'm a little unsure about it just because you can see there's actually a lot of rust and stuff, so not good stuff for electrical components. It might have been in a flood, who knows. But, well, I stand corrected. Oh. Seems a little off balance. Might be missing a traction tire or something, but oh no, I see what's going on. Somebody tried to install a coupler, but it doesn't look. Look at that, the little hose for the air brakes is actually lower than the wheels. It looks like this wasn't installed correctly or something. I think it's too short a coupler, so we'll have to fix that, but it's a runner. That's fine. Well, I think all in all, we made off quite well. We got mostly runners. We got a few which won't go, but even some of those were showing some promises. So I think that we'll be able to pretty much fix up all these engines. And I can't wait to do so. But until then, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching.